Alright, hi guys, one more for the evening I think, while I'm on a roll, knocking these out. I'm starting to enjoy these, they're quite fun. But yeah, so, I think I'm going to talk about, I think this video should be about mixed voice. And it's a bit iffy talking about mixed voice because every different person you talk to has a different definition. The main one that I've seen, it mainly comes from speech level singing instructors and, Brett Manning's work, stuff like that, where it's sort of implied, oh yeah, there's no such thing as, like, proper belting, the last time I checked anyway, it's been a while since I looked through it, but a lot of people seem to have this idea that pulling chest is bad. It will kill your voice, any amount of strain is terrible, the proper way to sing, proper, deserves mocking with as much fury as I can send at it, but this idea that the proper way to sing is always to be using a light intensity and basically trying to hide the fact that you're blending into falsetto. And to be fair, you're always going to be blending into that higher sound as you go up, otherwise you're not going to be able to get the notes. There's always going to be some sort of balance going on, and that's what I think mixed voice is. It's just a different balance. But thing is, you can have a mixed voice, different ratios, different blends of sounds, heavy or light, dark, bright, whatever. You can have that on any single note, you can get notes that resemble falsetto in your chest voice range, it's very much a chest voice type sound, but it's low enough that the heavier coordination is dominant, still resembles chest voice. And you can get chesty type sounds up in the higher registers. I think this idea from this very, gotta be safe, avoid strain, avoid any interesting sounds, all contemporary singers that belt are wrong, I saw one video on, what used to be called You Can Sing Anything's channel, and I imagine some of you may have come here from that because I post there quite often, but yeah, one of the videos there where they've got this guy he's criticising Ed Sheeran, who's not exactly a belty singer to my ears, and just, he's just shouting, how terrible, he's gonna have a short-lived career, and, dude's famous as fuck. Clearly it's a viable sound, but this idea that it's limiting or destructive or bad for you to use anything more than trying to disguise your falsetto as a belt like these speech level singing instructors do, it's bollocks. You can make belting sounds. You can make interesting, powerful, exciting, enjoyable sounds. And it can be good for your voice, I mean, obviously they're more intense than just blending into a pretend belt, like a lot of these instructors do, but they're legit sounds. There's nothing wrong with belting. There's nothing inherently bad about it. What will really fuck you up is when you try applying this stuff, really working light and never going heavy, never working hard or intense for fear of injuring yourself, and then going to a live setting where, adrenaline kicks on, you want to sound good, you want it to sound, meaty and powerful and like ordinary singing, and yeah, you'll belt. And you can injure yourself because the balance isn't there, your voice isn't built to be able to do it. It's not smart, you've got to train to make the sounds like you want. Let's not pretend that mixed voice is some sort of magical thing where, you can sing in falsetto, but it sounds like chest voice, or whatever. And whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't happen. This myth that as you go higher, you're just switching to falsetto, but pretending. And again, it does happen to some degree, but not the way I've seen it. Not the way I've seen a lot of, amateur level singers trying to learn to sing. Not the way I've seen them pick it up. I spent quite a few years doing the speech level singing exercises, and I lost the ability to belt completely during that period. Which probably did me good in the long run, because the time, before that, it was my first 2 years as a singer, and I was just belting songs. I started with a very normal range, it was about F sharp at a push, and I wanted to fucking scream shit an octave up in the same voice, or what I thought was the same voice. Again, you will definitely be mixing to some degree as you get higher up. I don't care what the research says about you've got M1 or M2, which is, chest voice or falsetto. There's definite degrees you can sing to. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know if they're extreme ends of the scale, but you can definitely cross over with these. You can definitely blend. I don't know exactly what the research is. I haven't looked into it too much. I don't think it's important, to be honest. We're singers, not scientists. We need to know enough to be able to learn to do the things we don't know how to do. That's not too hard, thanks to the fact that there's a lot of people that are doing research into this stuff. I just criticised it, but the fact that they're doing it, we're learning objectively what's going on with singing is very useful. And so yeah, I want to throw out this term of mixed voice as it seems to be applied to a lot of singers. It seems to be a way for teachers to avoid having to teach students that sounds that, first of all, they can't do very well themselves. Secondly, they don't want to do. They're wrong, remember. And thirdly, they're risky to teach. To a fair degree, there's always some level of risk. I don't mean it's inherently bad to be making those sounds. I think I made my point with that already. But they're harder to teach. They're more demanding. They're more intense. Yeah, they're hard to do, especially when the teacher has no fucking interest in them at all. So yeah, this idea of mixed voice as it really is, you can get different intensities of different notes. You can approach notes in different ways. If you look at CVT's approach, complete vocal technique, I've only just started to scratch the surface with this stuff, but it makes a lot of sense. There's different modes you can get into, different ways of shaping the vocal tract, different sounds you can make, different frequencies you can emphasize. These all strengthen different bits of your voice, and they're very important to work to build a well-rounded voice. If you want to shout more, you've got to work CVT's overdrive, the beefy, lower, heavier, hey, dark sound. And it's late, so I'm not doing demos full on, and then, there's brighter sounds, the edge coordination, which is, again, a full intensity belting sound, but it's the thin one, you shout on that, that will tend to mean you've got more range. That's the bit that will open it up, and I've done 2 videos on that already, so I don't need to harp on about it. Then there's other modes that are lesser degrees of it, curbing, which as far as I'm aware, it's basically a controlled overdrive. It's a restrained form, but I'm not too up on that yet. Like I say, I'm still getting into this stuff. Look into it yourselves. But the key point I took away is that there are heavier and lighter sounds that you can use, different coordinations you can use to make them, and you need to strengthen them both if you want a well-rounded voice. The idea that mixed voice is something that you go into to avoid having to work heavy, it's a bad idea from a vocal perspective. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think I made that pretty clear. I don't like the term because it tends to mean pretending singing in falsetto and telling people you're belting. I've even seen rock vocal teachers guilty of this. Some of them, not all, but some. And they're some of the big guys as well. And yeah, it's not good. I've heard some examples of rock teachers teaching their belting technique, and they just sound like they're trying to shout in a reinforced falsetto, the witch's cackle sound. Doesn't sound good. It's not musical, not even in the context of rock music does it cut it. And there's a fucking lot of variation for what makes a good rock singer. A hell of a lot. Like Axl Rose, he's barely out of falsetto for most of his singing. It's sharp and piercing and attacky, but it is musical. It's full of character. It's really interesting. The shit you get with a lot of these vocal coaches, it's just a parody of that. It has no substance to it. It has not authentic sounding. Doesn't sound good. It just sounds like a parody. And no amount of bullshit on the subject saying, this is the safe or proper way to sing, will ever get around the fact that it doesn't sound good. So yeah, that's my thoughts on mixed voice. Learn to do whatever level of mix it is you want to be able to sing with. If you want to sing light, practice singing light. If you want to sing heavy, practice heavy sounds, obviously, but bear in mind there is a balance needed, and I covered that in my other videos. Strengthen the lot. Get good with all the sounds, learn what balance you want, and work towards that. Make sure your voice is in the shape to be able to maintain that balance, and you should be good to go. That's about it. Mixed voice. Yeah. Catch you next time. Bye.